Hi, I'm Wendy Gates Corbett. This is a video series on building belonging in ourselves, in our workspaces, and in each other. This is the second video. In the first video, I referenced how an experience I had at a stoplight changed my life. And I said I'd tell that story in a different video. That's this one. The focus of this video is to share a strategy that I use to remind myself that I belong when I start wondering whether these people like me, whether I fit in. This is a great starting point. The stoplight story is a great starting point. But the stoplight story that happened 17 years ago actually started when I was 5 years old. When I was 5 years old, we lived in a predominantly white neighborhood. So to give you some background, I am biracial and I'm adopted by a white family. We lived in a predominantly white neighborhood. Laura was my next door neighbor. We used to play a lot, but when we would get into fights, Laura would scrunch up her face and she would say, "You don't belong here. You're different." She said that a lot. I didn't realize it then, but those words, "You don't belong here. You're different," were internalized. I made most of my decisions throughout my high school years and through college and into my adult life. I made my decisions based on making sure that you thought that I was the same as you. I didn't know that I was doing that, but I was. I realized I was doing that at a stoplight. Here's what happened. I was by myself in my car. Everything was fine with my world. I was driving down the road in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I pull up at a stoplight. On this side of me is a car of white women. On this side of me, a car of black women. And out of nowhere, I freaked out. Who am I supposed to try to figure out? Who am I supposed to try to be like? I had a crisis of conscience and identity at a stoplight by myself in my car, and these cars of women had no idea I even existed. I flipped out in my car at the stoplight because I was worried about belonging with complete strangers. And at that moment, at that stoplight, I heard a voice in my head. Not Laura's voice, not the "you don't belong here, you're different." The voice said, "What about me, Wendy?" That was my voice. It's the first time I had ever heard my voice. That voice asked me, what do I want? What do I think? What do I want to do? What I wanted to do was sing the Mariah Carey song on the video. It was at that stoplight that I realized how much energy I had been spending in other people's minds. At that stoplight, I started the journey of reclaiming my own sense of belonging. What I've done is when I realize that I'm starting to have way too many thoughts that begin with, "I wonder if they think I'm," and fill in the blank, I realize I'm starting to think too much about them. I'm worrying about belonging with them. That's a cue for me to crawl out of their head. And I ask myself, what about me, Wendy? What do I want? What do I think? What kind of food am I in the mood for? Reminding myself to ask myself what I think and what I want is a way that I stop myself from crawling inside other people's heads and reminding myself that being me is what you want anyway. And it's a strategy that helps me. So there are 3 questions that I ask myself when I start questioning whether I belong in a situation or not. And when that questioning of belonging comes from a place of, "You don't belong here, you're different." First, I ask myself, what about me? Forget about them. What about me? The second question I ask myself is, what do I want? Or what do I think? What's my opinion about the situation? not what do I think they think the situation is. What about me? What do I want or what do I think? And what if I didn't care what they think? I love that question because that question helps me remind myself that what I think is more important than what they think in this kind of situation. What do you do when you're in a situation where you question whether you belong? What do you do? I want to invite you to ask yourself, what about me? What do I want? And what if I didn't care what they think? In future videos, I will expand more about strategies we can use to remind ourselves that we do belong, to create belonging in our workspace, and to remind each other that we do belong. I'm Wendy Gates Corbett. I'm here to help you know that you can be you, be real, and belong.